Good evening. I will now call to order the November 21st, 2024 Board of Education meeting. We acknowledge the traditional, ancestral, unceded territory of the Chumash, Tongva, Fernandeña, Tatavaim, and First Nations on which we are learning, educating, and living. Mr. Brecky, if you wouldn't mind, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you so much. For all those that are able, please rise.
Okay, put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Ms. Quinterio, please take roll call at this time.
Member Tabbitt?
Present.
Clerk Ponser Kamkar?
Present.
Vice President Agakanian?
Present.
President Weisberg?
Present. Does anyone have any adjustments to the agenda? I do. I would like to, hold on, I just need to find where, remove 10A from tonight's agenda and place it on our December 12th agenda. Thank you very much. Anyone else have any other changes to the agenda?
Sorry, I didn't have my agenda.
That's
Dr.
the workforce,
Bonnie,
community workforce.
Okay. No?
No.
Okay. We'll move on to 7 items for future agenda. Does anybody have any requests? Ms. Tabbitt.
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you for the wonderful year we've had with you as our board president.
Sure.
However, our next meeting is our reorg meeting, which will also be placing us in committee work too. That's part of it. We need to add to the committees the facility subcommittee, as the bond has now been passed, and that is the driving force behind bond expenditures. So if we could please add that to, do we have to approve it?
Well, what I would just ask, so this is to get the word out about SFOC, is that what you were saying? No, what were you, I'm sorry.
2 separate items.
Okay,
So back at the beginning of Mr. Ferguson's board time, he rearranged
Yes, indeed.
things, and he eliminated the facility subcommittee.
oh, okay,
The
yes,
facility subcommittee was the group that was the precursor, I guess you'd want to say, of how board dollars are spent, who gets the, I mean, they do it all, and it's a superintendent's committee consisting of 2 board members and department heads, like assistant soup of
Secondary.
instruction and secondary and elementary. And technology, all the different areas that come together to talk about the avenues that the bond will be spent on. And then it's presented at SFOC as the community-based, totally transparent portion where everything is laid out. In addition, we need to go back to anything bond-related needs to be added to the agenda as new and unfinished, not in consent.
good.
So those things are this is the first step, the driving force behind the bond, and then SFOC is a
Different thing.
different animal. But Mr. Ferguson decided to eliminate it, but now that the bond is back, or we have money in a bond account. however
Thank you,
wanna
Burbank
think about
community.
it. Yeah, thank you. We need to have this committee set up so that things are talked about, discussed, and brought forward.
And so that's standard practice. Like, I just want to make sure it's not creating a redundancy. It's
No,
great, then
it's been done
great.
for years.
Great.
And years and years and years, so.
So this will be the first time I'll be on the board moving through a bond, so this is all educational for me.
Yes, and it is my second time. That doesn't mean it has to go exactly like it did last time, but there's a large faction that, as you know, as we were campaigning for this, that said, well, we're not sure this board can do this. Well, yes, we can. Yes,
More
we can.
transparency, the better, so I like it.
100%. So It's got to be by committee. It can't be by one or two people or somebody we hire or
No.
whatever else, so.
And there are many on district staff that were part of this committee for 6, 7, 8 years.
Yes.
Dr. Knappich was on it, I was on it, Rick Vonk was on it, so we're familiar with it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
as part of that, John, can we make sure, or Dr. Promo, can we make sure that we talk through some of the process,
Sure.
what you envision the process of how information moves from this subcommittee to the SFOC to the board itself, and
Yes.
where things get approved? That would be clarifying for me, just to
Sure,
understand.
because it's a superintendent's committee, there are minutes taken, and they are shared and whatever. There's all kinds of things, so. Okie dokie. So that's my
Excellent.
add to the pot agenda item.
Ms. Sponsor Kamkar? Fabulous. Dr. Agakanian? I also don't have anything. Is surprising to all people
Waiting for
that
me
I
when
have
call.
nothing to add to this. Okay, we will move on to 8 reports from the board and staff. We begin with arguably all of our favorite reports from our student board members. We'll start with Vivian from Monterey High School.
Okay. Good evening, Board President Weisberg, distinguished members of the board, Superintendent Paramo, district staff, and our audience. It is wonderful to see everyone this evening. I am excited to share some of the events that have taken place at Monterey High School. Our amazing counselor, Ms. Shiraga, transformed what could have been a routine informational session on financial aid into a fun and engaging financial aid scavenger hunt. Students had a blast following riddles that led them to various locations around the school, all while learning valuable information about financial aid. Ms. Shiraga's dedication to our students' futures is truly commendable, and we are fortunate to have her. I am pleased to report that our Lunch Pass program for the second 5 weeks of quarter 2 continues to motivate students for success. We have over 50% of the school qualifying and participating in our Lunch Pass program. We have only one student come back to school late. We have not had to take away any lunch pass. This program allows students to enjoy their lunch breaks more flexibly, contributing to a more relaxed and productive school environment. We are also proud to recognize the students who have achieved excellent attendance. Their dedication and commitment to their education are inspiring. These awards not only celebrate their hard work, but also encourage all students to strive for consistent attendance, which is crucial for academic success. As we look ahead to the third quarter, we are excited to welcome new students to our MHS and ILA programs. Our staff is diligently preparing to ensure a smooth transition for these students, providing them with the support and resources they need to thrive in their new school. This month, we focused on Native American Heritage Month. We had students research Native American history and present the information on announcements. We also created an interactive bulletin board in the main hallway for everyone to learn more about successful and important people in Native American history. Thank you for your continued support and commitment to our school's mission. Do you have any questions for me?
That was a great report.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Shout out to Ms. Shiraga. She's the best. We will move on to, I'm so sorry, it's in front of me, to Lala from Burroughs. Happy to see you back.
Hello and good evening, President Weisberg, distinguished board members, Superintendent Paramo, district staff, and members of the Burbank community. My name is Lala Nestor, and I'm here to present my report on November 21st, 2024. In ASB News, we are currently hosting a canned food drive to help those in need during this holiday season. To maximize donations, we are even offering an ice cream party to the class that has the most donations. ASB is also hard at work planning the winter formal, hoping to bring the school together for a fun event. Last Friday, ASB hosted our annual Fall Food Festival. It was so great seeing so many clubs selling different foods and connecting with so many different students on campus. CPM, or College Peer Mentors, are also preparing and supporting our students during college application season. JBHS Drama will be performing The Crucible this Friday and Saturday at 7 p.m., as well as Sunday at 2 p.m. Boys basketball has officially started their season and secured a win against Northridge Academy on Tuesday. We hope they continue their success as they play Canoga Park tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Cheer also starts their competition season this Saturday in hopes of qualifying for nationals. In regards to concerns, I do not have any to share at the moment, so are there any questions or clarifications?
I did want to share with you, I think we talked about this last board meeting and you weren't here, but just that Dr. Macias and Dr. Paramo are going to move forward with meeting with ASBs at both the high schools to talk with you about how we can increase safety in the bathrooms, which you brought to us earlier this year. So I wanted you to know that we heard that, we've been working on it, and that'll be happening soon. So we just wanted to thank you for bringing that concern to us when you did.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Finally, last but certainly not least, the fantastic Rose from Burbank High.
Good evening, Superintendent Paramo, President Weisberg, Vice President Dr. Agakanyan, Board Clerk Kamkar, and Board Member Tabet, and all attendees. It is my distinct honor to address you this evening and provide the latest updates from Burbank High School. Last Friday, our football team competed in the second round of the CIF playoffs, unfortunately resulting in a loss. However, our athletes have demonstrated remarkable dedication and perseverance throughout the season, and we are optimistic about our prospects for the next year's CIF championship. The winter sports season is now underway, featuring girls water polo, boys and girls basketball, boys and girls wrestling, and boys and girls soccer. Burbank High is eagerly anticipating future victories from these teams, and our ASB is enthusiastic about supporting their endeavors. This Friday and Saturday, Unleash will be presenting their Dancing in the Dark show. This highly anticipated event is a highlight of the first semester, and BHS is proud to showcase the talents of our dancers. We strongly encourage everyone to attend and support our performers at 7 p.m. this weekend at BHS. In terms of fundraising, it's amusing to note the contrast between our classes' themes. Our sophomore class, Feeling the Chill in the Air, has decided to warm things up with a hot cocoa fundraiser. The date is still in the works. Meanwhile, our senior class is embracing the opposite by planning a Yogaland fundraiser this upcoming Monday, bringing a bit of coolness to their fundraising efforts. This is all for Burbank High School. I thank you for your time this evening. Are there any questions?
Thank you so much. Thank you to all three of our board members. We'll move to 8B, which is the time we have allotted for our union leadership, BTA, Burbank Teachers Association, CSEA, California School Employees Association, and BASA, Burbank Association of School Administrators. I see our fearless leader from BTA, Nicole Drebecki, here, and love to invite her up to share her thoughts.
Hi, everybody. Sorry I haven't been around in a little bit. I had some deaths in the family, so I had to go out of state, but I'm back. Good evening, President Weisberg, Superintendent Paramo, members of the district and staff. My name is Nicole Drebecki. I am the BTA president and a PE teacher at Dolores Huerta. I would like to congratulate the Burbank Unified School District on passing their Measure ABC bond. This is a win for all of our students. I look forward to seeing the repairs and the modernization of our schools. I would like to thank Burbank Unified School District for continuing to talk with small businesses and the Burbank community over these next 2 years, all the way going up until 2026. So they understand how important funding is for our very special programs that we have from TK to 12th grade. Our students deserve these great programs and to help educate them to be well-rounded and prepared to live in this great state of California. These programs give tremendous help to their overall who they become. And unfortunately, programs cost money, and I'm hoping that as time goes on, we can try to continue to have those programs that make our students happy. I also want to say it's important to reach out to the 36% of the Burbank residents who did not support Measure ABC. They need to understand why we want to support our schools, even though their kids have graduated from BUSD, and they need to know what we're facing over the next 10 years and how we will need to continue to have their support as our student population changes. Our community plays a huge role in the success of our students. They may not realize that, but they do. And so I just want to make sure that we start that conversation now and that we're prepared and we are planning. I visited Stevenson Elementary and Providencia Elementary schools this month. In talking with my members, they want you to come to our schools. They want to see you there. They don't want you just talking to the principal. They want you to come in their classroom and kind of see what they're facing every day. Our students continue to need social emotional support. Come see our Stepping Stone students and our Teachers in Action. As I said before in other emails to District Cabinet, I think we might want to fly another BUSD position if we have the money to get more BUSD SPED support. And I'm mainly just referring to our 11 elementary schools. Another thing, sometimes our instructional aides that help our students, sometimes they're out sick and we don't always get sub coverage, and that can make it really hard on our members. And anything we can do to hire more subs for classified would be great. I just want to make sure our elementary schools have enough yard supervisors for the amount of students that they have at each site. I'm sure you have a special formula, but student safety is important, and I've heard from our members at many of my schools this fall that we could use more supervision. I just want to mention that I really love our English language learners. I have 10 of them in my 8th grade PE class at Dolores Huerta. 8 are Armenian and 2 are Russian, and they are often translating for me in my class. And I'm actually looking forward to this summer so I can pay for an app to learn Armenian language, and I've been a pro with our Google Translate, whether I have an Armenian student, a Russian student, a student who's Persian, Arabic. So I want our community to know that these students are in our classrooms, and the majority of our teachers, unless they come from a special background, most of our teachers are speaking English, and we really want to be able to talk to our students in their language that they're most familiar with. And the more that we can continue to support them, the better, especially with our declining enrollment. They just want to be successful like everybody else, and they want to be able to learn the language quicker and sooner. And I think the more that we can do to get them there, even if it's at elementary or middle school level, it helps them as they become a young adult, whether they do community college or whether they get into a 4-year institution or they do trade school. It's very expensive in California. I often tell my 8th graders, and I just want our students to be successful for down the road. Other than that, I hope you guys have had a good time, and I'm sure you're looking forward to a nice holiday break here, as we all are, and the semester kind of went fast. So thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you so much, Mr. Becky. I don't know that we've had a good time, but we've had an important and meaningful time. All right, we are going to move on to 8C, reports from the superintendent.
Thank you so much. Nicole, I've known you for so long, and one of the things that I really appreciate about you is you are always very quick to shout out support and shout out the good things that we do. And I want to reciprocate because I appreciate the kind words about the bond. We all worked hard, but your leadership was really critical, especially in mobilizing teachers, planning those weekends where you went to homes to meet with our community. That's outstanding leadership. It doesn't go unrecognized, and I want to thank you. I know this was important for all of us, and the next 2 years, you're absolutely right, are going to be important. We have to continue the conversation with our community. We have to get them to understand how we're funded and why we need their help and why we need their assistance. And I feel that if we do that in an honest, authentic manner, and we speak early and often, that we'll find that support. And so I'm committed to it. I know you are too, and I'm glad to be a team member with you. You are forcing me to think. I spend Monday mornings and Friday mornings at school sites, and I will admit that a lot of times it's me one-on-one with the principal talking. So when I do this in the spring, because I've gone through my rotation, I will specifically ask that in the spring we're in classrooms. So if that's what teachers are asking for, I have zero problem with that. And I'll change it up a little bit for the spring so I can make sure I'm in there. You talked a little bit about what our teachers need and where are the areas where we might need more support. I'm glad you brought that up because we just started our LCAP season. We had our most recent LCAP meeting, our initial one that was last week. It was simply an overview. So it was well attended. I was really happy to see that. The district is purposely providing a hybrid version. So if you want to tune in from home, you're absolutely able to do that. If you want to come in, you can do that as well. It was a good first meeting. We will start getting into specific goals and specific items that are funded in LCAP as we move forward. I invite everybody to participate. When we spoke about LCAP in the late spring, when the LCAP plan was approved and finalized, we shared with the community that we would be needing to make some cuts to LCAP for this coming year. So the good news is we thought it was going to be $850,000 worth of cuts, and we're looking at a smaller amount. We're looking at about $500,000 that we have to cut from LCAP to make that budget balance. So participation from the community is critical. I'd love to have you at our LCAP meetings, and I would love to have you help us with your input on things that are important to you. I agree. What I'm hearing from elementary principals specifically is they really need help with behavior interventionists because of dysregulated behavior with our young kids. So I'm very clear about that, and that's one of the serious considerations in our LCAP plan as we move forward. So I wanted to say that, and I wanted to mention that because what you're sharing is in alignment with what I'm hearing as well. I want to take a minute and address our deaf and hard of hearing community. We had a recent board meeting where a lot of our folks in the DHH program came to the podium and spoke about their concerns. And then we've had some subsequent items in the newspaper talking about the DHH program. And I just want to make it absolutely clear that if we were going to cut the DHH program, I would know about it. I would 100% know about it. That could not happen without me not knowing about it. And I have not had a single conversation with anyone in the Burbank Unified School District or the Board of Education about closing the DHH program. That is never going to happen. This is an important program. Our kids need it. If we need to enhance it, revise it, update it, I'm open to it. I am on the phone with Jay Schwartz, our SELPA director, all the time. I have a great relationship with her. I have no idea how the community got misinformation that we were going to close a program. I'm baffled by that. I don't know how that happened. I've asked, where did you get that information? Because I don't want there to be misinformation. And nobody has told me. So all I can do is assure this community that we are not eliminating the DHH program. We never were. We never talked about that. And you have my commitment. You have my commitment to keep that program going. I am going to turn it over to our Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources to give us the DHH community an update on where we are with the staffing situation that was brought up last time.
We have the one position at the TK program for the youngsters in the DHH program. We have interviews on Monday. We have one candidate. It's very difficult to find DHH and multiple subject teachers, so we have one candidate that we'll be interviewing that we're excited about. Has the ASL, which is important, as well as the DHH background, and is looking intern eligible for some of the credentialing. So we're pretty hopeful, and we'll continue to fly the position if this person doesn't work out. I think just an update, we've branched out to working with some other entities. Some of our, not only the universities, but there is a group. GALAD is one of the, I think it's like a program that we've reached out to, GLAD, ED, CALAD Partners. So we're trying to get the word out there that we need a DHH teacher beyond just our regular postings on EdJoy. Thank you.
That's it for me.
Questions for Dr. Paramo? Anybody? Okay. Go ahead.
So, Mr. Becky, I do want to also take this opportunity to thank all of our teachers and the volunteers who were out there knocking on doors and making calls. Our son actually always looked forward to going Saturdays because he'll say, my teacher is going to be there. So if you're watching, thank you also for doing all the hard work. But I think it's important for people to know it wasn't, the teachers were there, the volunteers were, but a lot of hard work went into this. A lot of calls and walking and knocking. And I'm very happy what the outcome is. I also want to take this opportunity to, also thank the other volunteers, also the chamber and the realtors for also being supportive as well. But I think people have to remember how crucial this was, and I'm so happy that it passed. But again, thank you very much. Thank you for your hard work and all of our teachers.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, I spent a lot of time in the BTA office over the last couple months. Usually Alex Moore from CTA and I making calls while a couple of other people make calls. And I want to say thank you to you and to Alex because I don't think we would have passed this bond without the help of BTA membership. And especially because I think it was so powerful for the community to hear directly from teachers how their facility situation impacts teaching and learning. I mean, because Alex and I were making calls at the same time, I heard him say 100 times, our teachers are doing amazing work in the classroom, but you cannot outwork leaky roofs and broken AC. And that's just so true. And I think it really resonated for Burbank residents to hear from people who are actually in the classroom to say, this is not nice to have, right? These are all needs. And so thank you I know it's a lot of work to coordinate all of those folks and to get them into place, but I'm really proud of the work that the committee did and that BT members did in particular. And so I'm looking forward to them getting much more comfortable working and teaching and learning conditions. So thank you.
I also forgot to thank the PTA also for all of our parents who were out there, and also some of the letters that were written by our teachers. Again, I do agree with you that it is important that our community members heard directly from our teachers, from the parents. And also, Alex, if you're watching, thank you very much as well.
We sang your praises highly at the meeting right after the bond. So you're the best again. Okay, we are going to move on to request to address the board. Is the virtual speaker There? Okay. So any individual or group representative present this evening may address the Board of Education on any agenda item or on any subject within the jurisdiction of the school board by completing a white request card and turning it in to Ms. Quinterio. Speakers are requested to state their name prior to speaking to the board. Not more than 5 minutes may be allotted to each speaker except by unanimous consent of the Board of Education. The superintendent may refer the matter to the proper department for review. The district is providing alternatives to in-person attendance for viewing and participating. We have one virtual speaker. Speakers who wish to provide a public comment virtually were asked to sign up via Google form at the link provided before 3 p.m. yesterday, indicating if their comment pertained to an item on the agenda or a subject within the jurisdiction of the Board of Education. Comments regarding agenda items will be taken now and this is old. Moving on. When it is time for a virtual speaker to address the board, the speaker's name will be called and the speaker should activate their microphone and camera. Speakers must be present in the Zoom webinar when their name is called in order to address the board. Speakers are also requested to state their name and pronouns if desired prior to addressing the board. Please note that the chat function has been disabled. After the speaker completes their public comment, or if the 5-minute time limit has been reached, the speaker will be removed from the Zoom webinar and can continue watching the meetings by streaming it through our website or via the Burbank channel on YouTube. Again, we have one virtual speaker, Manuel Pernia. Yeah, absolutely.
Good evening, esteemed members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I would like to begin with a simple question. Have you or your children ever been in an emergency situation at school where you didn't know what to do? For most of us, the answer might be no, because we've been trained to follow clear, straightforward procedures. But for individuals with disabilities, traditional emergency guidelines often don't address their needs, leaving them at greater risks. Statistics shows that individuals with disabilities are 2 to 4 times more likely to experience harm during emergency due to inadequate planning. This isn't just a statistic. It represents of real people in our schools and our community. Whether it's a child with autism overwhelmed by sensory stimuli or a staff member using a wheelchair trapped by inaccessible evacuation routes, these are lives that depend on us to act. While our district has developed strong emergency protocols, there is a significant gap in those plans. They fail to adequately address the unique needs of the individuals with disabilities. I'm here today to ask for your leadership in bridging that gap. Our current emergency plans, the Comprehensive School Safety Plans SB 187 from each high school, assume that everyone can follow the same procedures, hearing the fire alarm, walking to the nearest exit, or taking cover during severe weather. But these plans don't account for the diverse needs of students, teachers, and staff with disabilities. For example, a student who uses a wheelchair might not have a clear, safe path to evacuate during a fire drill when elevators are unavailable. A teacher who is deaf or hard hearing may not hear verbal instructions during a lockdown. A child with sensory sensitivities will become overwhelmed by flashing lights and loud sirens, making it difficult for them to follow instructions. In these scenarios, the lack of accommodation doesn't just delay evacuation or response, it creates confusion and increased risk for everyone involved, including first responders and classmates. Often, the staff members assume that they will figure out what to do once the emergency arrives, and this assumption is not only dangerous, but also has proven to be wrong. My younger sister is a young media student and a wheelchair user, and she shared her experience in earthquake and fire drills. In her own words, in drills, they simply didn't evacuate me, and when there was a real fire, no one knew what to do with me. They simply left me with my assistant. Fortunately, she is safe, but we cannot afford to wait for a tragedy to highlight these shortcomings. A gap in emergency preparedness for people with disabilities is not only dangerous, but also undermines our district commitment to equity and inclusion. The good news is that addressing this issue is both possible and practical. With your leadership, we can implement a comprehensive disability-inclusive emergency plan that protects everyone. Here is how. Number 1, develop tailored emergency plans. We need plans that account for various disabilities. This includes identifying alternative evacuation routes for individuals with mobility challenges, creating sensory-friendly warning systems, and ensuring communication methods are accessible for those with hearing or visual impairments. Secondly, provide regular staff training. Emergency procedures are only as effective as the people implementing them. All teachers and staff need regular training to understand how to assist individuals with disabilities during a crisis. This includes practicing a scenario with real-world variables and understanding how to remain calm and supported under pressure. Taking this step will not only improve safety, but also demonstrate our district leadership in fostering an inclusive environment. In closing, I want to stress this initiative is not just about meeting legal requirements, it's about living up to our values as a community. An inclusive emergency plan is a clear image. We value every member of our community equally, and we are committed to protecting them, no matter their needs. I encourage to prioritize the development of implementation of a disability inclusive emergency response strategy. This is not just an operational moment, it's a moral imperative. By acting now, we can ensure that no one else is left behind in a moment of crisis. Thank you for your time, your leadership, and your commitment in creating a safer, more inclusive district for everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We are going to move on to our in-person speakers. We will begin with Patrick McMenamin, and the next up will be Paul McNiff, followed by Miss Alicia Boot.
Scoot down here. Good evening, board members, Dr. Paramo, district staff, all those in attendance tonight, and to the Burbank community watching from home. My name is Patrick McMenamin. I'm a math teacher at Burbank High School. This is my 18th year working in our district. I have, on occasion, attended board meetings in the past. You've seen me here, usually with the intent to support our teachers' union. But after 18 years, this will be my first time speaking at this podium. So what I have to share with you tonight is very important to me and to my colleagues. I want to first ask all of those that are here tonight to consider, who was the best teacher you ever had? Which one stands out above all others? Which teacher had the greatest impact on your life? Board members, would you mind sharing the name of your favorite teacher?
Sure. Mr. Rose.
Mr. McKeon.
Oh, no, I know exactly, and he was my teacher at Burbank High, and his name went out, but I have social studies, but he
Let's stop the
history,
clock.
but he also taught like, I know, right? I can for hours. Oh my gosh, yeah, it'll come.
Armand, you go. She'll get there.
It'll come.
It'll come.
Who's your teacher? Who's your teacher? Whatever.
Anytime.
Well, I'll say my mother, who was a teacher.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, and if it comes to you, feel free to speak up. Well, if you ask this very question to the graduating classes of our school over the last 4 decades, hundreds would agree on the same person. Mr. Dave Thompson was a once-in-a-generation teacher at our school. I'm here tonight to formally propose that the library of Burbank High School be named after him. Mr. Thompson worked at Burbank High from 1985 to 2020. During his 35-year tenure, he played many important roles. He served as the Social Studies Department Chair. He was our WASC Self-Study Coordinator during our 2013 visit. Mr. Thompson was our Centennial Chair in 2008, something that board member Shar Tabbitt certainly knows a lot about, and all of the time and hard work that were put into making a well-organized and classy event. He developed the vision, researched, and wrote a commemorative book that was published illustrating the history of Burbank High dating back to 1908. I don't know anyone else who published a book about the history of where they worked. Here's the book. You're each going to get a copy tonight. We'll take one and pass.
So awesome. I'm so excited.
and he was our Key Club advisor from 1986 to 2013. It was in this endeavor where he led our students to repaint the large letter B on the hills of Burbank. This became an annual event that gave the B a fresh coat of white paint. Over the years, it has since changed colors, occasionally from Burroughs red to Burbank blue, and is currently displaying a beautiful shade of royal blue. But the most significant contribution Dave Thompson has made to our kids, to our school, and to our community is as a teacher. Quite simply, he was the model teacher at our school for the last 3.5 decades. He quickly established himself as a highly desirable teacher. In doing so, he was selected as the LA County Teacher of the Year in 1999. Here we are at a Board of Education meeting for Burbank Unified, surrounded by people who work with kids. If you are in this room tonight and a yearbook was ever dedicated to you, can you please raise your hand? If a yearbook was dedicated to you. Okay. Well, Mr. Dave Thompson had our yearbook dedicated to him twice, once in 1991 and again in 2003. That's what he means to us. I can go on and on about his accolades and accomplishments, but what stands out to me and to many of my colleagues are the reactions we see when alumni speak about their experiences having him as their teacher. To hundreds, he is their best teacher. And to the faculty and staff who had the pleasure of working with him, his legacy is alive and well whenever we speak of him and what he means to our school. There is precedence. Renaming a facility has happened within the schools of our community, including libraries. It would be justified and appropriate to rename the Library of Burbank High after Dave Thompson. An argument could be made that it would actually be insulting not to. It's time we have a tangible way to represent his legacy that will never go away. I look forward to seeing the next steps in doing what is right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We are going to move to Paul McNiff and then Alicia. Thank you so much for the books. I'm really authentically excited.
Was the teacher Clyde Richards?
Yes.
You're welcome.
Yes, I'm like searching my yearbook.
I played tennis for him and I coached with him, yes. So when you said tennis coach, that's what, so, yeah. Burbank history. So I'm going to speak about Burbank history. I'm Paul McNiff, and I'm here to recommend that the Board of Education name the Burbank High School Library after Dave Thompson, who retired from BHS in 2020. I'm a 1990 graduate of Burbank High, and I've taught English at my alma mater since 1997. When I was a student in the late 1980s, Mr. Thompson was a new English and history teacher, boys soccer coach, and advisor for Key Club. He quickly made an impact by taking over the AP United States History course, leading the interdisciplinary Humanitas program, guiding the soccer team to the quarterfinals of CIF, and transforming Key Club into the largest service club at the school. When I returned to BHS as a teacher, I saw how much the students, faculty, and administration respected Mr. Thompson, who now allowed me to call him Dave. Dave was a consummate professional, never wasting a minute of instructional time. He was even known to lecture on the field during fire drills. His APUS history students benefited from his knowledge, organization, and inspiration. 30 years of AP students learned how to become focused, academic, and committed due to Dave modeling those traits. Dave's devotion to the school extended beyond the classroom as he was a loyal and dedicated leader, too. He was an AP exam grader, department chair, WASP chairperson, and spearhead of the Centennial Celebration in 2008. I worked with Dave on the WASC document and on the Centennial History book, which you just received. So I witnessed firsthand his vision, work ethic, and ability to inspire others to participate. Dave personifies the phrase lead by example, and anyone who has sat in his classroom, worked with him, or interacted with him just wants to be their best because of Dave. Over 35 years, he led students to university-level work, colleagues to professional responsibilities, and the community to pride in its history. On a personal level, I would not have become an AP teacher and grader department chair and WASC leader had it not been for Dave setting the standard and offering his encouragement. Thousands of students know Mr. Thompson's stare, hundreds of teachers know his smile, and hundreds of administrators, yes, we've had hundreds of administrators over 40 years, know his nod of approval and his shake of disappointment. We carry the humanistic influences of Dave Thompson with us, but a concrete legacy is also fitting for a man who is a generational teacher, advisor, coach, leader, and mentor. Future generations deserve to know Dave Thompson's name and to study and read in a building named after him on a campus where he made history. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Alicia Boot, followed by Kyle Lenton. And if I'm mispronouncing the last name, please correct me.
I was so enamored with his, I forgot to get up. Okay. This is very nerve-wracking. Hi, board members, district office, and community. I'm Alicia Boot. I have had the privilege of being the Burbank High School Library Coordinator for the past 15 years. As someone who is deeply committed to our library, it is with great honor and respect that I advocate for the renaming of our beloved library after a man who not only supported it, but also held his office within the walls, Dave Thompson. Dave Thompson, a dedicated history teacher, was more than just a faculty member. He was a true champion of learning, a tireless advocate for our students, and a steadfast supporter of our library. His impact on our school's community is immeasurable. As a history teacher, Dave seamlessly integrated the library into his curriculum. He recognized the library as an invaluable resource, a place where students could delve into the past, explore different perspectives, and develop critical thinking skills. He not only utilized the library extensively, but also generously donated books to our collection, enriching our students' educational experience. But why do I believe the library is the perfect place to carry Dave Thompson's name? The library is more than just a collection of books. It represents the spirit of inquiry. It ignites curiosity, empowers students, fuels the imagination, and fosters a love of learning, ensuring that every student, regardless of background, has the chance to succeed. In many of these ways, the library mirrors the values that Dave Thompson championed. He believed in the power of education to transform lives, to inspire hope, and to create a better future. He believed in the importance of fostering a love of learning, of encouraging critical thinking, of nurturing lasting relationships, and of empowering every student to reach their full potential by holding them at a higher standard. By renaming the library after Dave Thompson, we honor his legacy and celebrate his enduring impact on our school community. We recognize his dedication to education, his passion for history, and his unwavering commitment to our students and our library. This is not a new idea to those of us that have had the honor of working with Dave. We had begun this process in late 2019, and then we were waylaid by COVID, and then Dave retired in 2020. It is about time we honor and preserve his legacy in a place that he cherished and that continues to inspire generations of students. Please allow us to rename the Burbank High School Library the Dave Thompson Library, a fitting tribute to a man who truly made a difference. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Kyle Lenton? Lentine. Wow, I chose so many incorrect options. Kyle Lentine, followed by Olga Lentine. Got it that time.
Hi. I'm here tonight because I want to bring to your attention some of the problems the residents have been occurring on the Oak Street side of Huerta Middle School. Residents here again have to deal with issues that are caused by weekend and evening use of the field for sports use. The last 3 months and counting have been full of parking issues and noise problems. This all begins at 8:30 in the morning on Saturday and Sunday and runs until dark, approximately 9 hours. We also get Monday and Wednesday, 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Users are allowed to enter through the Oak Gate, so they park on Oak Street, which cannot handle the volume of cars that end up parking there. So they end up spilling into the residential streets more than halfway down. We get constant noise, yelling, whistle blowing all weekend long, weekday nights. About 15 years ago or so, we had a meeting with Mary Alford, She came over to the school, we met at the gym, and she talked to the residents about the parking issues at that time, as well as possibly putting lights at the school. The residents were strongly against it, but she said hear her out because she said they would only ever put lights in the upper field. They would never allow lights at the lower field on Oak Street because it was way too close to the street, way too close to the residents. They would never allow anything like that. She knew there were parking problems, and she said at that time they were opening up a larger parking lot on Sheldon at the upper field, putting in a bathroom because they didn't want people using the school restrooms. And she also said they'd be keeping the teachers' parking lots open regularly to keep cars out from in front of people's houses. The oak gates would be locked. And for the most part, after that, they honored that. Now what we're having is non-school employees coming Monday and Wednesdays, opening up the gates, parking on the blacktop, and setting up temporary lighting. The lighting, they're there till 9 o'clock or so. We've talked to Crystal at the joint use desk. She's aware of that. She says there's nothing in the joint use agreement that says that they can't put up lighting. That doesn't mean it's a good idea. It's right there in our face. She also is aware that this person has an unauthorized key and is opening up the gate and parking on the facility. She says there's unauthorized keys floating around the district, and that happens, there's nothing they can do about it. That's what we've been told. We've gone round and round with these things in the past, talking to principals who say we have to talk to the district, who say we have to talk to the Parks and Rec. Nobody takes responsibility for any of this. It goes round and round and round. She also told us that they're only using the facility 2 days a week, but it's 2 weekdays and all day on the weekends. Users of these facilities were supposed to enter through the upper sports lot and the teacher's parking lot, but almost always the teacher's parking lot is closed. The Oak Gate is open. It can't handle that volume. We're told if they use the lower field, they must have that gate open. That wasn't our agreement we had with her or the district. This is wrong. It's destroying our quality of life. We've called many times. No one's doing anything about it. Our street is mostly occupied by seniors and elderly. It makes it very difficult for them to manage through this traffic and parking. My neighbor has a caregiver, and his caregiver must park halfway down the street to come give him care. Why is that right? Why is that reasonable? We have to plan our lives around the sports use at the facility. I mean, imagine yourself having to say, I want to go to the grocery store, but oh, I can't leave because if I come back, I have to park halfway down the street.
Thank you very much. Your time is up, but I know that you are coming up, I'm sure, to continue your important message.
Can I have one more minute here, please?
I think we need to move to the next speaker.
Just tell me what you wanted to say.
I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Board and President Dr. Paramo. So our concerns are multifaceted. One is property owners nearby, and then the value of our home. As you know, if we were to move, do we have to plan strategically when we show the house? If you live on Mariposa, you have to identify that your house is in front of a school and that there are sporting events here. It's a family home, meaning it's generational. So initially it was purchased near horse stables, if you can believe that. Eventually the school, we always knew we would be moving into a home by a school, never a park. And that is what it has felt like over the summer and into this year. Our children attended Burbank Unified Schools. They played sports. They were active at their school sites. And we never impacted the neighborhood as parents. You do have to know that most of these groups are permitted groups. They are not Burbank Unified students. And I think that would lend a different lens to it, and I understand there's a joint use committee, which I'm not sure who it is or where we would address them. But as we're talking about the bond and the facilities that will be updated, we can only imagine that there are plans that might be in place to add lights to Huerta Middle School. That lower field that my husband was referring to does not have any sound barrier on the Oak Street side. There are no planned parking. And the upper field, at least you have the Burbank Unified Facilities and parking lot that provides some sound barrier, and then the school to the south. So there's zero light. You can't restrict the light, you can't restrict the sound, and you can't restrict how parents park on Oak and leave their lights on while they wait for their kids to play. In addition, this gentleman that comes on to the campus does have a key, and I brought that up to Crystal. I said, who lets him onto the campus? She said, well, the custodians let him onto the campus. Well, we've watched him open the gate. She said, there's a lot of people in Burbank. It's kind of a known problem that non-Burbank city employees and non-Burbank Unified School District employees have these keys. We changed the locks. People distribute the keys again. As a parent, as a teacher, that terrifies me because I don't want to know that random people have access to my kids' school. My kids are now adults, but I teach second grade. I don't want to know that random people have keys to our campus, and it's concerning. Is he vetted? Is he allowed to be around children? Most likely, because he is a volunteer or an employee to this soccer entity, and it is soccer that is causing the whistles and the yelling that, imagine having friends over on a Saturday afternoon and you can hear everyone hoping that Mark scores that goal over and over and over again. And it's funny, but it's annoying and disturbing. And if you're trying to sleep to get into work, impossible to do. Every Saturday and Sunday, not occasional Saturday and Sunday, every Saturday and Sunday. Again, so my biggest concern, the access to the school, the overall effect to our neighborhood, to our property values, and as George is about to go into a year to 2 years of being unavailable and schools being used during that construction, it scares me and to think what kind of access will be made available at our school. So this, back in the days when we worked with Mary Alford, I don't know if any of you remember her, she's a city manager with the city of Burbank. She said, this is the smallest middle school in our school district. It does not have parking on the side of those fields. It's not available to us. Absolutely, why would you want anything more than kinder, first, or second grade students running on this lower field? All of these things are completely ignored as we have high schoolers practicing on that field in the evenings. The field, I don't know if you've driven by recently, looks horrible. It's completely decimated in the center from overuse. Facilities, I would have to agree, would have to reseed or work on that area as well. And my neighbors are here to give you some more information. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Douglas Hill, and our last speaker is Eric Hawk.
I don't know that I can finish this in 5 minutes, but thank you for hearing me, and good evening. It's been a bit inspiring this evening to be here. I'm senior. I don't get out very much, and it is wonderful, especially the question about who our favorite teachers were. And who comes to my mind first is Coach Rigolato, what was Jordan Junior High. Many others, though. And I want to speak to you about Hereta Middle School. Oh, first let me apologize about my appearance. I had oral surgery a few days ago and I'm recovering. Also, I want you to know that I have lived next to Hereta Middle School all my life. I graduated from Jordan Junior High, as did my two children. I grew up, I grew up on a home on the corner next to the school. And then after serving in the military and finishing college, I bought the home adjacent to the home on the corner. Okay, about 17 or 18 years ago, the city and the schools entered an agreement to use the fields. Now, I have a copy here from a letter that I had received from Marcia Ramos, who was mayor at the time, and in it she says, after the parking lot is finished, the Oak Street gate will be closed. You can have that. It's a copy of my copy. And I want you to know there have never been lights on the fields. We were promised that there would not be lights on the fields. The Oak Street gate is supposed to be closed. And we greatly appreciate that the schools have kept those promises for the last 17 years. However, this year lights have been placed on the fields and the Oak Street gate has been open. The resulting traffic has been horrendous and unsafe with illegal parking. It has turned our neighborhood into a parking lot. The lights on the fields and the open Oak Street gates have encouraged this. The other night, I nearly hit somebody who jaywalked in front of my car. It was night, the lights on the field and the headlights of the parked cars were glaring in my eyes, making it almost impossible to see the person crossing the street. I was traveling very slow due to the congestion and was able to make a hard stop before he crossed in front of me. He was carrying large bags. I don't think he saw me. I'm still disturbed by that occasion. Noise from the private non-school sports activities has eliminated the peaceful use of our homes. We have communicated to school administration how this causes us great discomfort and loss of the peaceful use of our homes. I do appreciate that school administration has tried to reduce the impact on our neighborhood, but we are still suffering. The past experiences teaches us that it may get worse. And I would list all the activities of the school that we accept, but actually all the noises from the school is not so bad as the sports groups using the fields. We look forward to our peaceful homes in the evenings, weekends, and especially on Saturdays and Sunday, which is my Sabbath day. Sports groups come for an hour or two. They shout, blow their whistles, turn the streets into parking lot, and leave, followed by another non-school sports groups and then another and another. They go back to their quiet homes, but we have to live with it. Okay, my time is almost over. So what do we do about this problem? Actually, it's a simple solution. One, use the existing off-street parking for sporting events. Then the Oak Street gate would not be needed, as Mayor Ramos promised in that letter. Reduce the use of the fields so that the neighbors are protected, and this would help the off-street parking. Do not allow lights on the field. This is how the surrounding neighborhoods expected it. And it is consistent with how the Hereta Middle School curriculum. Doing these things would prevent another years of headaches for our neighborhood. Okay, I guess my time is up. I have more things to say. I'm sorry that we don't have more time.
We appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our last speaker is Eric Hawk from Burbank Community Band.
Okay. Hey, and good evening to the members of the Burbank School Board, the wonderful district staff, and others who've taken time out of their evening to participate in today's meeting. First, a big thank you to this board. I do, and the band does, appreciate all of the support that has been given, certainly in sharing our events on the district's Facebook page and digital bulletin board, as well as connecting our band with facilities personnel, which is actually going to be a big part of some exciting news in the calendar year 2025, I think. But as many of you already know, the Burbank Community Band has had a big start to its 2024-2025 season. On Saturday, October the 26th, it had its Halloween concert in Burbank at First Christian Church. I'm happy to report the show had a great turnout for haunting tunes, and we had a larger than ever participation in the audience costume contest as well. And this is really saying something because we are going up against the Dodgers in Game 2 of the World Series. Not our original plan, but I'm glad the city came out to support the event there for sure. Less than 2 weeks after that, the band had 2 more shows in honor of Veterans Day. On Friday, November the 8th, the band played at the Burbank VFW on Magnolia Boulevard. It was a neat experience. The band, of course, sounded great, but it was not a traditional space for musicians in a band of our size, 50 musicians. For those of you who could not make it to that one on November 8th, we may do this just one more time, and that'd be probably the Friday of Memorial Day weekend. So put that in your little phones if you can, and it should be a really fun event then too. And of course, last week on the November the 11th, the band performed at McCambridge Park as part of the city's Veterans Day ceremony, which for our band is always very special because it's one of the times where we are guests of and performing for our community here in Burbank. In a little over a month, actually a month from today, the band will be having its December holiday concert on December the 21st at 5 p.m. And this will be again at First Christian Church of Burbank at 221 South 6th Street at the corner of Angelino and 6th Street. This will be the last performance of the Burbank Community Band of calendar year 2025 or 2024, and the music's going to be a great little collection too. We got a couple neat little songs in there. Some of them are one of the familiar holiday cartoon themes, sort of involving the Grinch and Rudolph of that great sort of cartoon and claymation era of holiday events, holiday sort of festivals. And then we're also going to play a really cool version of Little Drummer Boy, but with Ravel's Bolero as the percussion underneath it. So that's going to be very, very neat. And this performance on Saturday, December the 21st at 5 p.m. is being made possible by generous support by the 2024 Burbank Arts Grant. And if I read the recipient list for that grant list correctly, this performance will actually be the final scheduled Arts Grant funded event for this calendar year. So, of course, once again, thank you all for your support, and please come out and support the band on the December the 21st at 5 p.m. And I have flyers. I'll pass those out. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Okay, we'll move to superintendent responses and then board responses.
Thank you. I want to start with our virtual speaker, and I want to acknowledge that I agree that we need to have specific plans for our students with disabilities. What I will share is my own personal experience as a principal in this community, and that is that we always had an emergency plan specifically for our students with disabilities. But what I'm recognizing is that that plan has maybe not ever been memorialized in the actual safety plan. So I think that's an area where we can start to work on. So it's compulsory that we put safety plans together every year. What I'm going to do is work with Dr. Macias and Dr. Kanapik to make sure that the specific plan for our students with disabilities makes it into that report so that it is memorialized and we have that in writing and that everyone is trained. So I appreciate you bringing that forward, and we will make adjustments to ensure that everyone is safe during an emergency, or even if it's a practice. To Patrick, Paul, and Alyssa, I cannot think of a better person to name the library after. We have specific board policy. It's board policy 7310. We will work through the process, and we will start working on that in January. I've already had a sidebar conversation with Dr. Macias, and he's excited about pursuing that. We actually are going through the process of naming 2 libraries. Dolores Huerta was started, and we didn't finish that. So we're going to pick up that process in January, and with the board's blessing, we can go through this process following board policy in January for Burbank High as well. But I'll give the board a chance to chime in when they make their comments. I've been in Burbank for 20 years, and the issue at Dolores Huerta and Oak Street and the parking and the lights is something I am very familiar with. So I want to make a few broad overarching comments. The first one is to share with the community that there is an anecdotal saying that everybody and their mom has a gate key in Burbank. Why do they say that? Well, if you have a coach that was coaching and they have a gate key and then they move on and they find a different job, the thought process is they don't turn their key in, and now they have a key and they're in the community and they can get in whenever they want. It is anecdotal. What I'm going to guess, and I will double check and make sure, is the person that's opening the gate was vetted and was issued a key, and that's how they're getting in. But I will double check and make sure whether that's the case or not the case. But I really don't think that there are hundreds of people who have our gate keys, which is what people joke about all the time. In terms of facility use, our facility is under a joint use agreement. So the decisions that are made about joint use are made together with the Burbank Unified School District and the city. So there are regularly scheduled meetings where both the city and city officials come together with BUSD, Burbank District officials. They plan the calendar. They discuss maintenance issues. This topic should be brought there. So the issues you brought forward should be agendized, and it should be a topic for the Joint Use Committee to review, and that's what I'm going to ask. I'm going to ask that be agendized, and then I'm going to ask that both the city and the district come together, agendize a topic, and come together for solutions on how to move forward. Priority for our facility use goes to the city. That's the priority order. So I know that it's not just the city that uses our facilities, but they get first choice. They get first grab. So we will look at who's using Dolores Huerta, and I'll ask that they put together a plan to address these issues. And as it pertains to the Burbank Community Band, you are a crowd favorite. I would suggest that you get your flyer and send it to Cindy electronically, and we'll be able to get that out and announced so that on December 21st at 5 p.m. you have a good showing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ms. Tabbitt.
Thank you to all our speakers who came tonight. Mr. Hawk, thank you for providing in-person live music for folks, and also for a place for those musicians to play. I appreciate that. So much of our world is now recorded or created by a computer that live music is so very important to continue, and I appreciate that. Thank you. To my friends from Burbank High School, and Mr. Richards always came to mind as my favorite because over the years I've quoted him. But I could sit here and list, 10 teachers that had an impact on my life from Burbank High and Muir and even elementary school, because I went all the way through. folks that made an impression and helped my own children as they went to Burbank High, Mrs. Boots especially, and Mr. McMiniman. My son Colby still asks how you are, and vice versa. So we're on grandchild number 2 now, by the way. So yes, Mr. Thompson, I mean, when you think of Burbank High and all those students that went through, some of whom the only AP class they might have taken was U.S. history, because they wanted to have Mr. Thompson. He was extraordinary. So I couldn't agree with you more. And as Dr. Paramo said, we have policy, but it's for what you want to do, and I hope the rest of the board agrees with me. The next step is to place it on an agenda, and I certainly would move to have it placed on the agenda at our next appropriate board meeting. December might be crowded, but January, the second meeting in January for certain, and that's what it takes. It's agendized. You can have someone come and speak again if you like. We vote on it, and then there is not supposed to be a cost to the district for adding the name, so somehow you'll have to fundraise that. When we put the new name up at Huerta, facilities took care of it, so they know how to do it, or if you just want to come up with a plaque or whatever works for you, that's part of what we approve. So it could be as little as $500, just on a rough estimate, depending on what you want. So thank you, and thank you for making me remember some really amazing human beings that I hope my English teachers, Mrs. Connery and Mrs. Lang, were extraordinary, right? You were there, right? Sort of after me. Bill Kuzma was the band director. I mean, he's still my friend today. I can send him an email and he'll respond. He came to the 115th. I'm sure he was at the 100th. I was even at the 1978 75th anniversary. Would that have been right? I was there too. Anyway, I was young. Yeah, there were some really amazing folks. So thank you for that reminder, and thank you for doing this work for Mr. Thompson. My Huerta neighbor friends. I was there. Of course I was, right? 18 years ago, when the decision was made to not have folks park on the Oak side, and we were to keep that gate closed. I was involved with the Burbank Vikings. That was huge at the time, and we overran that area. And with the remodernization of that school, it was really fairly easy to keep the Oak Gate closed. We were only there for 6 weeks in the summertime in the evening. And we certainly do now only park, and we are told only to park on the other side of the school. I know AYSO is the other group on Saturdays, and the problem in Burbank, as you know, is there are, I think, 1,500 families in AYSO and a very small number of grass places for them to play. The other group I know is a club sport, the one that does Mondays and Wednesdays, and they've been told, because I was the one that called and said, they're putting lights into the ground. And our facilities folks said, you can't do that, not only because we don't do lights because of an agreement on the lower field, especially, but because it could indent into the sprinkler system, and that could create a lot of damage. So they were told, don't do that by facilities. Anyway, it's not a good story. It's still happening. I know. I complained about them parking on the, I know you will, but I'd like to meet with you so we could work through some things and talk about some things. Their lights are annoying. I know that. And you're right. We've agreed never to put lights on the lower field, but lights have changed in 18 years. And at some point they're very directional. At some point, we need to talk about putting them on the upper field. Okay, so let's meet, let's talk, see where we can go and work this out, and then we can go to joint use or whatever. But let's talk and share. I've been aware of this for a really super long time. If the rest of my board's okay, and then we'll see what we can do. I make no promises, but the conversation can happen. Yeah.
We just need to know where to go.
We'll talk. Okay, and or you can reach me through my district email, Charlene Tabbitt at Burbank USD. It's on the website, and then we can agree to meet and see what we can figure out. Okay, whoever we need to meet with, I'm open. I just want to make sure you're happy and kids get to play.
Right.
So, because that's important.
My kids play.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Okay.
Ms.
Yeah.
Ponser Kamkar.
Yeah, I think so. Okay. I said enough, didn't I?
Thank you. So thank you to all of our speakers for coming out or for being on the Zoom tonight. So I'll start with Mr. Pernia. So thank you for bringing forth your concerns about the school safety plans. I trust that staff is going to follow up on this and make sure that our safety plans are inclusive to students and staff with disabilities, but also that our school sites are taking drills very seriously and practice like it's actually happening. Not only for safety reasons, but also to demonstrate to all of our students and staff that we care about their safety, frankly, and that we support them all the time and not just when it's convenient. But thank you for bringing that information to us. To our BHS library naming folks, Mr. McMiniman, Mr. McNiff, Ms. Boot, thank you. I love this. One of the unexpected pleasures of when folks want to name stuff is that we get to hear just like really beautiful stories and details about people that have really impacted our community, right? And, clearly Mr. Thompson had a real passion for Burbank High and for Burbank in general. But, I loved this idea that he was doing all the right things, whether or not they were glamorous or kind of outward facing, right? Like WASC accreditation is no joke. It's not something that someone would necessarily sign up for if they didn't really care deeply about their school. And I also loved this idea of, it's the library because it represents the spirit of inquiry, right? The person that I named as my favorite teacher was my AP World History teacher, right? And I have a special place in my heart for history teachers like Dr. Weisberg. I think the world of them, right? And so I think this is really, really exciting. And so I support a resolution coming forward for us on this. And side note, but Mr. McMiniman, you've been out and about this week. So I want to thank you for not only coming to our board meeting tonight, but also for going to JBHS, going to Burroughs on Tuesday to talk to the staff there about the cell phone policy. We had a couple of teachers from Burbank High come and talk through the nuts and bolts and nitty gritty of how they dealt with cell phone policy in their classrooms, and Mr. McMiniman was one of them. And I saw a lot of heads nodding, a lot of light bulbs going off in the room at that point, and that I really want to thank you for that. Mr. Hawk, I told you before we started, but I really enjoyed the Halloween concert. We made it about halfway through the costume contest. Was a big hit with my kids. They were very mad they didn't get to wear their costumes, and I was like, that's because I haven't made them yet. So it got me doing that for the following week. But we had a really wonderful time, and thank you for the service that you provide this community by providing live music. All right, so let's talk about Huerta. So Mr. Lentine, Ms. Lentine, and Mr. Hill. So I make up that staff is going to look into compliance with the facilities use agreement, right? That's really important, that we review these kinds of things and make sure that everyone is complying with all of the terms that we've put in there, right? I feel like we're pretty generous with our partners, but that doesn't mean they can kind of get an inch, take a mile, right? Also on this unauthorized keys piece, because certainly it's an issue from a safety perspective. It's also just not a rumor I would love to just quash or dispel or figure out a way to make sure that there aren't a million unauthorized keys out there. So I, just to be, for transparency's sake, I'm also an AYSO parent, right? So I was there every Saturday on the lower field with my kindergartner, and then on the upper field with my second grader. And I live across the street from John Burroughs High School. So I understand the difficulties of living in very close proximity to a school that has events all the time. So I will say that from an AYSO perspective, and this was our first year in the program, we were told that having the Oak Gate unlocked was very much a privilege for this year that they had asked for, because it's the younger kids primarily who use those lower fields, and that like we had to behave ourselves essentially if we wanted to continue to have that privilege of, you know, not parking on Shelton and then walking our 5 and 6 year olds down to the other side. It sounds like perhaps people were not on their best behavior at all times, which, you know, does happen. I will say the teacher lot is open every Saturday, as is the Shelton lot. As Ms. Tabbitt said, there's just so many families. Definitely the teacher lot is. When I go, or every Saturday that I went this last fall, it was open. Either way, I don't think that parking is sufficient for the number of families that are using it, right? And so I don't know if I think also part of it is the way that they've scheduled folks. There's a lot of overlap between games, which is great if you have 2 kids in sports and you don't want to be there all day, but it also means that like there's not a lot of movement in parking, right? So people aren't leaving at the same time that people are coming. They're coming before anybody leaves, if that makes sense. So, you know, we want to be good neighbors, for sure. And we, you know, as Dr. Parma said, we have this duty to kind of make use of our facilities, provide them to the community. But I think we can talk through, you know, is there a way to make a better kind of sight and sound barrier on the Oak Street side? I think that makes a lot of sense, also from a safety perspective, potentially. I know that there are folks that are uncomfortable with some of our schools having such open line of sight onto fields, not just at Huerta, but at other schools. I did notice on the letter that you provided that it was in a response to looking for permit parking. You know, even as someone who has parked on Oak Street, again, just trying to be fully transparent. I think that's maybe a good direction for you all to go, especially for the nighttime games, if you move that direction. So that's something that, you know, you can work with the city on, or we can work with the city on, but like that hasn't been something we've done, again, on Parish across from Burroughs. That hasn't been something that we've done on my street, but we basically do not have street parking ever, I think I would say. But we haven't gone that direction. So that is one way that you could think about it, if the street parking is an issue. But I think we're going to need to work, it sounds like, with AYSO on their scheduling, but also on making sure that if things aren't working out on Oak, that people need to walk all the way around. So, but that will just, I think, eventually impact neighbors in other places too, right? I think it's just, there's not enough spaces for all those families. So, but thank you again for coming. I'm not trying to dismiss, I'm trying to understand and try to move this conversation forward in a way that makes sure that we're being good neighbors and conscientious. So, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do want to also echo what my colleagues stated earlier. Mr. Pernia, thank you for bringing the information forward. It is always good to hear members of the community who come forward and bring us items that, you know, needs attention. So thank you very much for your input. I'm sure we will be getting back to you. Now, I was kind of caught off guard for my favorite teacher, Mr. McManaman. I think, you know, throughout my life, because of my past, I had to move to a lot of schools and out of the country because of war and revolution, so I never really spent too much time in same school. It's just what I went through growing up. But I will tell you, I come from a family of teachers. So I've been fortunate enough, my mother, but also my favorite teacher, if I can really think about it, is Setik Bejanzadeh, who was my aunt, who was a math teacher. So I have a utmost respect to math teachers. So when math teachers say something, I'm like, yes. And I grew up in a education system which was very British, heavy emphasis on mathematics, and where teachers come in and teach and go home. And they're there to teach you. Very strict system. Even when you graduate high school, you have to take a French concours in order to qualify to go to college or university. I still go, most of my teachers, unfortunately, because I had to leave my country because of war, passed on. But to this day, any of them who we know about, we go to their funerals because we respected them at most. So thank you for all you do. But I would tell you just, again, coming from a very strict mathematic program. When I came to the United States, I went to 11th grade. One subject I didn't have to take was mathematics, because some of the stuff we've done, I had done it already in the past. So all respect, and this is wonderful. It is important that we acknowledge this individual. My question is renaming, is there already a name for Burbank Library? Okay, all right, okay, so, okay.
It's called the library.
Library? Like it.
So thank you, and thank you for reminding us who our favorite teachers are or were. It's important. To Mr. and Mrs. Lantine, did I say? Lantine and Mr. Hill. So I think one of my concerns that you brought up is the lock thing. Because, yes, so my question will be to the district is, No, that's not the concern. There are certain locks you can just easily make copies of the keys. And there are certain locks you can't. So my question is, the locks we used, are they the type that you can't make copies? Because if you go and try to make it, there are certain codes, the machine will reject it. Like my workplace keys, you cannot copy them anywhere. It's strictly, there's a certain code, like car keys, same thing. That's my first question. Because I would say a personal experience, I was just recently in our kids' middle school. I was the last to leave the parking lot, and there was no lock to close it. The lock was already clicked in. So I just closed the door, meaning anyone could have just rolled the door back, the gate. And that is a concern of mine. So maybe if we don't have that kind of a lock system, maybe we can, they're not expensive, we can look into them. There are certain locks you just can't make copies of. So, and you know, all of you, it's how easy it is to make copies. You can go to Home Depot now, just put your key in, the machine will spit it out for you. So that is a concern, safety is a concern. Another one is, I understand the concerns, and I think it's important with the city. So when I was a Parks and Rec chair in Glendale, when soccer was becoming very popular, you have to remember, soccer only in the last 25 years has become popular. And soccer is something you have to play in a big field, and it does get loud and noisy. So our solution working with the city was to acquire the field by the 2 freeway, where most of the teams go there. There's no homes there. It's right there, actually. And that was the first time we used artificial turf as well. So I've been talking to the city about this, and I want to continue the conversation about seeing if there is anything out there. Because the reality also is versus 30, 40, 50 years ago, the population has grown, and sports tastes have changed. Soccer is something, again, that you can't play in a baseball field. So I think that's something that's been brought up. I get a lot of inquiries from my center, where my kid is, right here. They're always looking for soccer fields. It's a big, big deal. So maybe we can talk to the city, trying to figure out what the other options are, right? It's not going to go away, and with all these new apartment buildings going up, you're just going to see more increase in need for field. But I'm concerned about the safety. I've experienced it personally, and the locks. Let's look at them and see if we don't have that kind of a system. Maybe go with a lock that no one can make a copy of it. They exist. So thank you for bringing that up, and I can understand what your concerns are, trying to have a peaceful evening. And I appreciate you bringing the letter forward. But I think we can continue the conversation. I'm just telling you, soccer is just going to become more popular, and the World Cup is going to be here soon, so it's not going away. So we need to start having more conversations with the city in terms of the joint usage. And last but not least, Mr. Hawk, thank you very much. I was at the Veterans event. I did listen to the band. Thank you very much. It was very nice. It's a full orchestra band. I mean, you had even bassoons, I could see them. So I was like, there you go. But thank you for doing that. It was a great event, and they sounded wonderful. And I will make sure I bring our kids to this event as well. I did miss out the Halloween one, but I apologize. I just had prior commitments. Thank you very much.
Thank you to all our speakers. Sorry. I can't imagine a greater honor as a teacher than having colleagues I work with advocate to have a building named after me, especially one like a library. I mean, that's just, I can't even imagine. So it was so great to hear you speak so passionately about him. I think it sounds like a phenomenal idea. I'm bummed I haven't had a chance to meet him yet. I'm bummed I didn't get to learn from him. But yeah, I mean, everybody, yes. But we'll follow and we'll try to expedite as quickly as possible. But I mean, everything that you shared makes it seem like a fantastic and perfect fit, and no reason not to celebrate it and, you know, get it done as quickly as we can. I will miss it being called the library, though. How will I know what it is anymore? Rude. I'll do it. I'll do it. Mr. Pernia, thank you so much. I want to just reiterate, I think, what Dr. Paramo said, which is we have a plan that is inclusive. One of the things we did recently this year was make sure in our bungalows that the lights that go off for people who are deaf and hard of hearing so they can see if there's an alarm. So we are making adjustments as they come up. But I think to your point, Dr. Ramon, what I hear you saying is that we have it. We need to integrate it into the school site safety plan so people can read that the work has been done. Am I hearing you correctly? Okay, so it's always a good reminder, and it gives us an opportunity to say, hey, folks, we've thought about it. However, there's always things we don't think about. So if you have a suggestion about a way that it can be improved, we definitely want to hear that. So appreciate you bringing that to our attention. The last thing we want to do is make anyone feel like they haven't been included in safety plans, because they should be wholly and completely inclusive. So look forward to sharing that with you. And hopefully, Dr. Paramo, if we can share that directly with him. He left his email when he registered for public comment. I think that could be really helpful.
Sure.
Great.
I can do that.
Thank you. To Mr. and Mrs. Lentine and Mr. Hill, thank you so much for coming. I do want to share a couple of quick things. I asked Mr. Cantwell, who is the man with all the knowledge, about this. And so what he reiterated is that there are no temporary lights allowed on the lower field, that no cars should be driven on campus. Permits should only be authorized on fields without lights after dark. So those are things that we can very easily and quickly address. I want to apologize that it sounds like the information you got was a sort of, there's not much we can do about it. Yes, there is. So these are things that are within our control. And I'm thankful to Mr. Cantwell for clarifying for me, because this is the tricky part that everybody is run up against, right? Well, who do I talk to? Oh, go talk to them. Well, no, go talk to them. The sad reality is some of it is within our purview and some of it isn't, but I am happy to know that there are things within our purview that we can actively and immediately address, which is great news. I do think that the permit parking that Ms. Ponser-Kamkar suggested, that's a city issue. So it could be worth talking to. I think it's worth talking to them, period. Parks and Rec are the people I believe that we work with our joint use agreement. So while we can't fix everything and they can't fix everything, there are certainly things that they can and should address, just as there are things that we can and should address. So it's really important that you know that those are things that we're going to address immediately. I've heard the key thing over and over again, but I think I understand why there would be. Oh, of course not. Oh, of course not. But I think what I hope you're hearing is us say this has been the sort of Burbank unified rumor in perpetuity. And while it feels scary for all of us, because I don't know if you heard me, I went, ugh, when you said it.
Well, when I heard it, I went, ugh.
Oh, of course, of course. So know that that is not common practice. That is not happening. And that if you see people locking and unlocking, that's good for us to know, and we can follow up on that.
Just to clarify, I asked specifically, is he a Burbank is he a BUSD employee?
Right.
No.
Okay.
Is he a City of Burbank employee? No. So that's where my concern is.
So that is something that we can follow up on. I also want to clarify that the gate locks open the gates. They don't open the schools. So that's not going to alleviate all of your concerns, but it is important to note that gate keys and locks don't give you access to everything. So does that solve the problem? No. Does it give you like a little bit? I hope so. It gives me a little bit. So I just think that oftentimes, like when I'm in a state of concern about something, anything that anyone tells me is going to ratchet up that concern, and rightfully so. So I just want to reiterate to you that that is not common practice, that the things that we can address, we are going to address immediately. And that obviously we hope you'll continue to let us know, if those things are addressed and then you see them happen again, we will address them again. Drop us an email. I don't want you to feel like you have to wait to come to a board meeting in 2 weeks and go through another 2 weeks of feeling frustrated and annoyed. Email us, we will get right on top of it. And that's the frustrating challenge, right? We benefit a lot from our joint use agreement, but there are always challenges. Groups, some are great, some take advantage. I know all of us here are happy and excited that young people have an opportunity to play and to play sports and to get out there on the weekends. And I think it's got to be hard as you see the community evolve and change from what it was and to what it is now. That obviously there's been enormous change as far as how many people are utilizing the fields, how long they're there. That's always going to happen. So, but that's hard. It's a huge adjustment. So we will address what we can address, but please let us know if, hey, things are good for 2 weeks and then things are definitely not good again, which happens, but that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. So I hope you feel heard, and we will do everything within our power to address what we're able to. And then I'm very optimistic that the city will respond in kind. And if you're not hearing from them, we can also reach out to our partners with the joint use agreement and see if we can't encourage communication. You're absolutely welcome. Mr. Hawk, I got super sick and couldn't come to the Halloween thing. I was so excited, and then I was not excited. I was sad. Cannot wait for the holidays. Spectacular. It's always a joy to see you. It just makes me happy to see you walk in the door. You are part of what makes Burbank such an awesome place to be, that we have these amazing opportunities to go and listen to phenomenal musicians. So again, thank you to everybody for coming out tonight. I learned a lot. I did. And I look forward to future conversations with everybody about the issues that you brought forward.
Madam Chair, add one quick comment, if I may. So quickly, when is this available to public?
What?
The book.
We still have many on campus in storage.
We kind of sell them through the students. I guess finance person will sell a copy.
So you do have copies in case the naming happens and people want to purchase the book. And my last question is maybe Ms. Tabbitt, why is it called the Blue and White Wave High? Is that the original name or just the colors?
That's the colors of the school.
That's part of the lyrics of our
The alma mater.
Okay, I just wanted. Well, our son is going to be a Bulldog soon, so I just want to make sure when it's called. Okay, I don't know the alma mater, I'm just learning.
Okay.
Thank you for
Wonderful. And thank you guys for taking time at the end of a long day and a long week to schlep out here and share something so important to the whole community. So thank you guys. We're going to move on to 10B, adoption of Resolution 15, proclaiming the month of November 2024 as Youth and Families in Transition Awareness Month. Dr. Macias.
You want to do it?
Do you want me to do it?
You're here.
Yeah, we got to give the librarian who did this month's amazing book recommendation. We are so lucky to have here so we can thank her in person for her hard work.
And I do want to introduce the fantastic Burbank High Library Coordinator, Miss Alicia Boot, who will do the presentation since she's here. And I will man the
You didn't
clicker.
put yours into 18 fonts, so I will wear my glasses on this. Hi, everyone, again.
We get,
Oh, slide show.
can we get the slides up, please? Thank you.
All right. To cultivate empathy and understanding in support of National Youth and Families in Transition Month, BUSD library coordinators have been asked to choose a selection of books that offer insights into the lives of others, particularly those experiencing homelessness. These books aim to spark meaningful discussions and promote compassion. Here are some of their recommendations. For our elementary students, this visually compelling picture book, I Know How to Draw an Owl by Hilary Horder Hibley, takes a compassionate look at an often misunderstood situation. Belle and her mother are currently unhoused and living in their old blue car. She finds solace and inspiration in the owl she sees nightly, which she skillfully draws. When a new lonely boy arrives at school, Belle feels a connection and a desire to help him, drawing on her own experiences of resilience and empathy. Still a Family, a story about homelessness by Brenda Reeves Sturgis, is a heartwarming picture book that addresses the sensitive topic of homelessness in a child-friendly manner. The story follows a young girl who shares her experiences of living in a shelter, facing separation from family members, and enduring the hardships of homelessness. This book offers a hopeful perspective through the eyes of a resilient child, dispelling myths and encouraging readers to empathize with those experiencing homelessness. In the elementary age chapter book, Stay by Bobby Pyron, Piper's world is upended when her family moves into a shelter in an unfamiliar city. Despite these challenges, she forms new friendships with a lovable stray dog named Baby, who she must help reunite with his owner. The book alternates perspectives between Piper and Baby, the dog. This heartwarming story fosters compassion and empathy, encouraging readers to recognize the dignity and worth of all individuals. For middle and high. For our older readers, No Place by Todd Strasser is a thought-provoking, realistic story about Dan, a popular high school boy whose family experiences homelessness. This book highlights the diversity of individuals experiencing homelessness while dispelling stereotypes and misconceptions. Through Dan's family, the author underscores the resilience and efforts of people facing extremely challenging circumstances. David Ambrose's memoir entitled A Place Called Home is a poignant and inspiring account of his journey through adversity. He shares his experience of poverty, homelessness, and the foster care system, highlighting the challenges he faced and the resilience he cultivated. Ultimately, through unwavering determination and hard work, Ambrose achieved his dream of earning a law degree from UCLA, the goal of using his legal experience to advocate for the rights of children in poverty. This is a story of courage and a heartfelt commitment to lend a voice to those who most need one. Those are our selections.
Thank you so much. And something that that we're going to be doing, thanks to Dr. Macias for this, is these book recommendations are fantastic, and we're going to make sure that they're on our website too, so that families can have a record of all of the books that you guys spend so much time and thought and care investing in, so that we can share them with the larger USD community.
And an extremely special shout out. This was unplanned, so thank you. She did a bulk of the research to find books on this in particular. So thank you again.
Be free.
If you ever want to just buy all the library's copies of these books,
We do. I do.
Yeah.
oh my God, we would happily accept, we don't all have them.
Yeah.
I'll be in touch.
Please do.
Madam Chair.
Thank you.
I do also want to thank for bringing up this topic, but I also want everyone, the viewers, also not to forget about individuals who cannot be categorized as homeless because they're couch surfers, which is an ever-increasing number of youth who, these are individuals who stay at friends' garages, but technically you can't call them homeless, and the increase of the number of these individuals is just tremendous. And I think during this season, the holidays, I think people should understand that it's happening in Burbank as well, and a lot of the surrounding community. That's why I want to thank Home Again organization because they have increased the program. They have informative stuff if you want to learn about them. But the lawyer story, if you ever one of my dear friends, Christian Contreras, one of the most well-known attorneys now in California, he was homeless himself, raised by a single mother. And now, went to school, finished the school. If we ever need anyone to come and speak to our students, but someone who went from homelessness to be one of the most well and young and up-and-coming attorneys in the state of California, I'd be more than happy to invite him, even if we want him to come to the board and say hello to everyone. But thank you for doing this. This is a very important topic.
Thank you, Dr. Macias. Can I get a motion and a second on the resolution?
Second.
Moved by Ms. Tabbitt, seconded by Ms. Ponser Kamkar. All board members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Seeing no opposition, motion carries 4-0. Ms. Tabbitt, do you want to read the resolution? I can too. If you. Great, thank you. Thank you, guys.
Just go to the next one.
Okay. Resolution 15, but I wasn't wrong about the other one.
You weren't. You were just doing the Roman numeral.
Yes, I was. Resolution 15 proclaiming the month of November 2024 as Youth and Families in Transition Awareness Month. Whereas on July 11, 2007, the U.S. Congress established November as National Homeless Youth Awareness Month. And whereas nationally, 3% of all school-age children will experience homelessness. 1 in 30 youth ages 13 to 24 and 1 in 10 young adults aged 18 to 25 in the United States experience some form of homelessness over the course of a year. And whereas more than half of all children in housing and urban development shelters are under the age of 5, homelessness in infancy and toddlerhood has been linked to future child welfare involvement, concerns related to mental health due to the impact of trauma caused by being homeless, and early school failure. And whereas only 88% of children experiencing homelessness are enrolled in school, up to 45% do not attend school on a regular basis, students experiencing homelessness are at a greater risk of being chronically absent than their house peers. And whereas the estimated rate of chronic absence for students experiencing homelessness is twice the rate of housed students. 21% repeat a grade because of frequent absences from school. Chronic absenteeism is associated with lower academic achievement and higher dropout rates. And whereas within a single school year, 40% of students experience homelessness, attend 2 different schools. Students experiencing homelessness experience greater school mobility than their house peers, which can cause interruptions to a student education. And I got to move this down. And whereas students experiencing homelessness are 87% more likely than their stably housed peers to drop out of school and face significant gaps in high school graduation rates compared to their housed peers and are more likely to rely on public assistance. And whereas youth cite family conflict and breakdown, abuse or neglect, alcohol or drug addiction of a family member, pregnancy and rejection over sexual orientation as the major reason for their homelessness or episodes of running away from home. And whereas the future well-being of our county depends, I'm assuming country, depends on the value we place on our children and youth, and in particular on our actions to provide those most vulnerable of children and young people with opportunities to acquire the knowledge, skills, and abilities they need to find and maintain stable housing and develop into healthy, self-sufficient adults. And whereas the McKinley-Vento Homeless Assistance Act requires every local education agency to appoint a liaison for homeless education to ensure proper identification, immediate enrollment, and linkages to other educational services and resources for which students experience homelessness are eligible. And whereas the Burbank Unified Superintendent of Schools and the Burbank Board of Education recognize that homelessness continues to be a serious problem for many students and families across Los Angeles County. And now, therefore, be it resolved in the Burbank Unified School District, Superintendent of Schools and the Burbank Board of Education hereby proclaim November 2024 as Youth and Families in Transition Awareness Month.
Beautifully read. Thank you. We are going to move on to 10C, acceptance of notice of completion, Eat Rate Technology UPS replacement project, NTT American Solutions Incorporated bond funds, as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Agakanian, seconded by Ms. Ponser Kamkar. Any discussion?
So people know these are previous bond funds.
Yes,
Because
that's
the
good.
others haven't been issued yet, but
Thank you for
just
that.
so we know.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Seeing no opposition, motion carries 4-0. 10D, approval of updated plan for learning recovery emergency block grant 2024-2025. As presented, can I get a motion and a second?
So, second.
Moved by Ms. Ponser Kamkar, seconded by Dr. Agakanian. Ms. Ponser Kamkar.
Hello. Can staff, and maybe this is a question for Mr. Cantwell, can you walk me through changes to previous, because it mentions that these are changes to previous plans, so like what were the big shifts there? And then what do we how do we anticipate to fund these things when the block grant is complete?
Yes, thank you. Great questions. So let me actually start with that second one, which is that we anticipate fully expending these funds this year. That is what this plan is created to do. One of the reasons for that is that even though these funds were allocated to districts and approved in law or by law in the 22-23 Budget Act, since then it's been a constant political football. They threatened to pull back the funds a year after it was given to us during the budget maneuvering last year. They ended up giving us nearly all of the funds, and then they immediately turned around and changed the rules on us as far as how the funds can be used and how they have to be reported. And so this is, if we have funds that carry over after this year, it has to become part of the reporting requirement for LCAP. And so that's, again, one of the motivations for us to just simply draw down the funds this year rather than expand it forward. The big change, this came to you initially in January of 23, the initial spending plan. In the spring of 23, in conjunction with negotiations with our bargaining members, the decisions were made to move typical general fund expenditures on the unrestricted side that were permissible and appropriate for this grant in here to free up funds for compensation increase. And so this is one of the main places where we were able to reallocate resources to free up funds for compensation increase to all staff when we gave the 7% on, 1% off back in spring of 23. These are the primary use of these funds right now is increased services to special ed. It is not encroaching upon the maintenance of effort requirements. And so what it was doing is it was funding new services within SPED. All of those services are going to continue after this year when these funds go away, and it's simply going to increase the general fund contribution on the unrestricted side. So next meeting, we will have the multi-year plan and the first interim revision. The expenditures that are listed here, you will see remain in the budget in those out years unless they're part of the financial stabilization plan. So these are things that need to be funded. And again, the biggest one being SPED costs that will end up just coming out of other funding sources.
Thank you for the question and the explanation.
And also, if I may, one last thing is we have not been required to report to the state our expenditure of these funds until it's due in about a month and a half. And so that's one of the reasons that we're updating it now is that this is, again, just to make sure that we have all of our paperwork correct. So that way, when we report up to the state, the reporting of expenditures will align with the budget allocations.
Anybody have additional questions? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Seeing no opposition, motion carries 4-0. We will move on to 10E. Approval of amendment to section 125 flexible benefit plan as presented. May I have a motion and a second? Moved by Ms. Ponser-Kamkar, seconded by Dr. Agakanian. Any conversation? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Seeing no opposition, motion carries 4-0. 10F, approval of Burbank Unified School District Workplace Violence Prevention Program as presented. Moved by Dr. Agakanian, seconded by Ms. Ponser-Kamkar. Any discussion? Ms. Ponser-Kamkar.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm trying to find my notes.
I wonder if you'll ask the same questions I'm going to ask.
Ooh, fun. So I saw that there's like a form for reporting, right? Are we capturing this data to look at trends? Because I've only been on the board for 2 years, but I feel like there's an increase in some of this. And where are we seeing those increases, if so?
Well, being new to all of this, so here's the Workplace Violence Prevention Program. We have what's called a threat protocol, like a employee threat protocol, and that has become part of this document. One of the key components of the Workplace Violence Prevention Program is that logging and tracking, that although we keep them all, we're not logging and tracking to see patterns. And so that's the purpose of, one of the main purposes of this program, is to make sure that we are logging and tracking and monitoring so that we can see those patterns and then have a real system in place that employees know when things happen. They know exactly what to do and how to do it and who to talk to, so that we make sure that employees can feel safe at work and that they know how to report things when they feel unsafe or there's something that occurs on a campus.
That was my big one. My secondary question is, so have we explained that addition to our faculty and staff? Yeah.
That's our next step, is to part of the program and part of SB 553 is to make sure that all staff is trained on the
Great.
Workplace Violence Prevention Program, that they know the procedures in place. So I'll be just putting together a PowerPoint of some sort that delineates sort of the main key components of this. It'll be shared out to the sites and principals and departments and supervisors so that they can do a presentation and share with making sure that everyone knows.
Perfect.
What to do. It'll also be on our website. We'll make sure that the incident reporting form is fillable, appropriate, and in multiple places. So it won't just be like on Human Resources, but on our website, and a place for people to access.
And I assume translated?
Well, this is for employees, it's really not for like students or parents.
I just wonder, I'm sure we have employees for whom,
Yeah.
English or Armenian is an easier language for them to write, especially if they're reporting on something that's emotionally difficult. So understood, but I think it could be helpful in situations like this if we could have these forms translated.
Yes.
Thank you.
We'll do that.
Any other questions? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Seeing no opposition, motion carries 4-0. 10G, approval of Pasadena City College Teacher Aid Apprenticeship Program as presented. Motion second. Moved by Dr. Agakanian, seconded by Ms. Tabbitt. Any discussion? I think this is cool. Can you tell the millions of viewers a little bit about this exciting, it is an exciting program. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
This is really exciting. This is a partnership with Pasadena City College. It's free to us. And what they do is they are vetting out people that are interested in being in the education world. And they're partnering with local school districts, and they actually chose Burbank. Their people want to come and work in Burbank. These are aspiring sort of educators of some sort. Most of them at the beginning will be in our para-educators, so they will actually, they've been vetted out by PCC. They go to PCC and they take their classes and coursework for free. And then they become employees of Burbank Unified School District. These are employees that are being trained by PCC to how to work in the classroom. Many of them, they have one right now for us that actually is a Ukrainian speaker that wants to come and work as a paraprofessional in Burbank. So as soon as you sign this, I'll be contacting them to say, come on over, and then they become our employees while they're going to school. And then, of course, then they can keep moving on in their education. They help them move on to getting their bachelor's degrees and completing that program.
Just to be transparent, this is an area that we've had difficulty filling positions for maybe like the last 5 years. So this is like a real gift, I think, that here are folks going to school to become or get help, let's say, in becoming paraeducators, and they want to come here. You know, so it's a big gift. It's a big win. So thank you.
It's a great win. Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations on this.
Big deal.
I know we have a good relationship with LA Valley College as well. Are there similar programs that we do with them on any positions, or are there any opportunities to partner with them on some of these things?
We can definitely work with our partners there and inquire about that and see if we can do something similar.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about like some of the positions that we're having. We have some very specialized positions that are hard to fill for specific reasons, but some of these more entry-level positions that folks could get real hands-on training while they're in community college would be awesome.
Agreed. Yes.
This was a community member that came to us that lives here in Burbank and is employed by PCC, who said this would be probably really beneficial. And so I connected her to Sarah, and it just sort of worked out. Yeah, it's a win. I know PCC has had several things like this that they're trying to work with the community, other communities for their students. I've never heard Glendale or Valley trying to do these things. So it comes from within the college.
Right.
So
I do also want to take this opportunity, if you're watching, I'm sure you are, no, I'm just kidding. My dear friend, the president of PCC, Dr. Gomez, so he's the new, he was a Cal State president, now he's the new PCC president. So Jose Gomez, thank you very much, and thank you for your support.
Going to move on to 10. Did we vote? We did not vote. Can I have all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Seeing no opposition, motion carries 4-0. Moving to 10H, approval of revised agreement between Burbank Unified School District and YMCA of Metropolitan Los Angeles as presented. Can I get a motion and a second? Moved by Ms. Ponser-Kamkar, seconded by Dr. Agakanian. I know why these are on the agenda, but I think, Dr. Knappich, can you just explain to our community members about why we've had to replace and vote on these?
So the Burbank YMCA has repositioned itself to be under an agreement now with the YMCA of Metropolitan Los Angeles. And under the YMCA of Metropolitan Los Angeles, there are 26 branches of the YMCA under their ownership. So it's kind of like a financial agreement that the Burbank YMCA has with the YMCA of Metropolitan Los Angeles. So all of our invoices, all of our payments will be going to the Metropolitan YMCA. But it's the same exact agreement.
And that's what so just to reiterate, we're not changing the offering, our programs, the structure. It's literally so that we can invoice correctly now that they've gone through a name change.
And just to clarify, this is for the Horace Mann Children's Center,
Yes.
where YMCA offers childcare.
Ms. Ponser-Kamkar.
There's a January 1st, 2025 date in here for additional child, is it right? Yeah, so the fiscal impact, right?
Yes.
Are we at, is that like, can we talk a little bit about their additional childcare that they're going to be doing there?
So what they're going to be doing is closing their child development center over at the main YMCA at Burbank for renovations. And so they're going to be shifting families and asking families to go over to the Horace Mann Center for childcare.
Okay. And I know, so we're not charging them for the use of Horace Mann, right? At least it looks like that from this agreement. Do we anticipate that they're going to be there for 6 months while the CDC is renovated, for a year and a half?
So this agreement is through 2026, June of 2026. So they currently have 5 classrooms at the Horace Mann Center. And so they're going to be adding probably 2 more classrooms over at the Horace Mann Center from students that are currently at the Child Development Center at the Burbank Y. But this does run through June of 2026.
Okay. And we've got the space there to accommodate
Absolutely.
the additional classrooms.
The agreement is for 8 classrooms.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other discussion? I got some anxious emails from parents seeing this on the agenda, so thank you for explaining, Dr. Knapnick. All those in favor, please say aye. Seeing no opposition, motion carries 4-0. We will move on to 10, thank you. 10I, approval of revised agreement with name change to YMCA of Metropolitan Los Angeles for expanded learning programs as presented. Moved by Dr. Agakanian, seconded by Ms. Ponser Kamkar. I believe this is for the exact same reason. Is there any other discussion?
This is for ELOP programs, Expanded Learning Opportunities Programs, which is a form of childcare. So the YMCA offers different programs, like in the performing arts and Learn, Grow, Thrive, the Model United Nations, STEAM programming. And so they advertise these as opportunities for families to participate and students to participate in these various programs. And we fund it out of ELOP money. And once again, this is only for this school year only. It's a year-to-year agreement.
Okay. Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Seeing no opposition, motion carries 4-0. Acceptance of gifts as presented. May I have a motion and a second? Moved by Dr. Agakanian, seconded by Ms. Tabbitt. I will read. Yes, let's vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Seeing no opposition, motion carry 4-0. A huge thank you to everybody who donated. Thank you to Backlight Inc. for their donation towards kindergarten field trips entrance fees at Bret Hart. Thank you to the Disney Elementary parents through the Disney Fundraising Committee for their donation to be used towards outdoor science school at Disney. Thank you to the Disney Elementary PTA for their donation to be used for butcher paper and their additional donation to be used towards outdoor science school buses. Additional thank you to Disney Elementary PTA for their donation to be used towards 3rd and 4th grade field trip buses and their donation to be used towards Multicultural Night at Disney Elementary. Thank you to Charities Aid Fund America for their donation to be used towards materials and supplies at Edison. Thank you to Christy Hockenhull for her donation to be used towards school supervision before school at Emerson Elementary. Thank you to Dorian Studio for their donation to be used at the principal's discretion at Emerson. Thank you to Emerson Elementary PTA for their donation to be used towards an assembly at Emerson. Thank you to Ruth Kawasaki for her donation to be used towards 5th grade outdoor science school scholarships at Emerson. Thank you to McKinley Elementary PTA for their donation to be used towards buses at McKinley. And lastly, but not leastly, thank you to Roosevelt Elementary PTA for their donation to be used towards Family Engagement Night at Roosevelt Elementary. Thank you to everybody. No donation is too small, and they all make a huge impact. We are going to move to item 11, our consent agenda. I know we have at least one board member who wishes to pull consent agenda items. Sponsor Camp.
Yeah. Are you ready?
I am.
As Ms. Tabbitt said, we want to get into the habit and practice of pulling any bond-related items off. And so by my count, that is, oh gosh, now I lost it. 11G, 11J, 11K, 11E, I missed that one, thank you. And I think that is it. And then I would also like to pull 11T and 11I. And I am sorry.
Don't apologize. Okay, let's see if I can do this. Best of luck to me. Okay, I need an emotion, and don't say anything yet, and a second to approve items 11A through 11D, 11F, 11F and 11F. No H, no I, no J, no K. 11H. And then 11, hold on, L through 11T. Oh, through 11S, I don't know my alphabet. Through 11S as presented.
So moved.
Shazam. Moved by Ms. Ponser Kamkar, seconded by Dr. Agakanian. Discussion.
Well, we can vote on those.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Seeing no opposition, those items carry 4-0 and onto the conversation.
So the first one's 11E then?
Yes.
So this was surfacing playground areas. So I think generally speaking, for the bond items, I think it would be good to hear like whether this is work that we anticipate needing to do further with the next bond, and like, did we learn anything or learn, whether it's about vendors or process or costs that we'll be applying. Resurfacing.
You're asking the question now? Well, we haven't done it yet.
Oh, this one we haven't done.
These aren't notice of completions. These are awarding of a contract.
Okay, cool.
I will say, yeah, a few clarifications on this. We did pull out a couple things that were large facility projects that aren't actually bond dollars, like the BHS pool is actually Fund 40. As far as those which are bond projects, none of them is ABC dollars. It's the final drawdown of the plan that we've had, which was to fully expend the former bond dollars in 2024. We used the same company and the same process for the Disney kindergarten rubberized play surface, and so it's bringing up to safety standards to other campuses.
So that's a good question. No, I don't know if it's a good question. I have a question. The account string on here lists bond funds. So we still have a tiny little bit, right?
Right.
Of bond funds. I'm assuming, so my question is, I'm just going to stop using that, I'm assuming. My question is, will we eliminate the bond funds before the next outlay?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we don't need a new account string for the next bond, or will there be?
What we'll do is it'll still be Fund 21, but you can see we actually do Fund 21.3 to designate and so we can do a new point.
Okay.
To help us differentiate between former issuances and new issuances.
Wow, good to know.
Yeah, but Fund 21 is where we put the bond dollars.
Okay.
But within that, we can distinguish.
And my thoughts about this as Mrs. Kamkar, as Abby just said, Ponser Kamkar, thank you, said is just to be really transparent at this point, going forward. We originally, so you all know, put them back in the consent agenda after things really slowed way down. And there were just a few every month. They used to be in the regular new and unfinished business, but there wasn't really enough.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there was also a report on any time there was, you might have been here for that. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, there we are. So thank you.
So I'll move. Sorry, I'll move to approve 11E.
11E. Okay. Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. 11E, motion carries 4-0. Now we are on to 11G.
So this one is a notice of completion. This is for the lock and hardware set installation at the 3 campuses that were remaining that had been outstanding. We'd already done this at a number of our campuses over the past 7 years.
And this is so they can lock the door from the inside and not have to go outside.
That's right.
To lock the doors.
And you can remind me you can correct me if I'm wrong. my recollection was that this was done over the summer and needed some additional tweaking after it was completed, right? Again, like, is this work that we plan to do are we continuing this work with other schools? Is this a vendor
No,
we would
it's
use
completed
again?
now.
Okay, so everybody is rekeyed. We don't need to continue doing this work.
That's correct.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, I'll move to approve the 11G.
Moved by Ms. Ponser Kamkar, seconded by Ms. Quiterio.
Madam President, we need to approve as amended.
As
The consent
amended.
agenda as amended with the items that were pulled.
So
not
then we should
individual.
go back then quickly and
Correct.
just for 11E, I need a motion and a second to approve as amended.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Ponser Kamkar, seconded by Dr. Agakanian. All those
And
in favor?
agreed by Ms. Tabbitt.
Agreed by all. Motion carries 4-0.
Let me, pull the items that were pulled.
I can read them to you if it's helpful. So 11E, 11G, 11I, JK, but I'm not JKing, and 11T.
So it would be approval of items A through D,
Yes,
items F,
but we did that.
all of them,
Yeah,
one vote.
Yeah, we did
we
for
did
the
that.
consent agenda.
Yes.
That was the first, so the first vote we took was on everything except for the items that were pulled.
And then now you're approving the item. One by one.
Is that okay? Would you suggest another way that we could do it for you?
If you approve all of them,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can do I mean, I don't anticipate wanting to not approve any of these, so if you want us to
Right.
just do discussion by
And then we
item
can do
then
one
do approval,
motion?
that's fine.
No problem.
Not a problem at all.
thank you.
So the next one was 11I. This was the special education school psychologist one. So I was surprised, I think, to see this. So is this covering an unfilled position that we've been unable to fill thus far? And
No, this is for additional services that need to be completed through an outside agency psychologist to augment currently what we have from our psychologists across the district. So it's extra help.
got it. Okay, cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. Sorry, does anyone else have questions on?
Not at that.
Okay. So then 11J is the.
What about 11I?
Oh, that was 11I.
11J, just like I said.
Yeah. So this is the award of, and we could talk about J and K together because this is the pool. And so understood that this is not from bond funds. I was just actually curious about on 11K eliminating the storage building and like whether that's going to be an issue for use of the facility.
Yeah, it's going to certainly create challenges. So this project, for those who don't know, our pool at Burbank High has been down for many years. When we initially started this project, we'd allocated $1.6 million budget to repair the pool. One topic that came up during the course of that was the reality that we did not have sufficient storage, and so a lot of things had historically been just stored on the deck. And so our prior facilities director, Larry Cross, had worked with our architect on adding scope. Instead of just kind of replacing like for a failing pool system, it was actually adding a storage and then second story bleachers. And so we initially, when he was working on this, and this again predates my time in the district, but when he was working on it, the architect said that this was going to be about a $500,000 increase. And so at the time, even though we didn't have the budget for it, it felt like it was a significant enough improvement, meeting a need for more storage, that it was worth pursuing moving forward. We have two separate DSA numbers, though, meaning that they're actually considered two distinct projects, the pool improvements and then this new storage and bleachers. We went out to bid for both projects, and we actually had each of the contractors had to give us a quote or a bid for the two projects separately, even though we were planning on moving forward with them collectively as a single project. When the prices came in, what was initially a $1.6 million budget had been increased by $500,000. So, keep in mind about 2.1 is where we'd been pegging it. We were told a year and a half ago by our pricing estimator to assume about $400,000 increase because of inflation during the period in time which this was delayed because of some challenges with DSA closing out old projects. So we had $2.5 million have been set aside in Fund 40 for this project. The bids came back in, we received the bids, and 4.9 million and 5.1 million were the two bids. And so it was double what we have budget for. And so that's why we unfortunately do have to make a really challenging decision to de-scope this, to now bring it back in line as a $3 million project. So we still are having to use more of Fund 40, which fortunately we do have the ability to absorb that. But we didn't have the ability to absorb an additional $2 million on top of that for something that is really critical, but is something that they've been able to exist without having, historically. And so perhaps with the bond, as we prioritize projects moving forward, this could still be a standalone project. Again, it has its own DSA number. It's been approved. But right now, we just felt it wasn't an efficient or appropriate allocation of the limited resources we have.
Thanks, appreciate that. Appreciate the context and also that decision-making seems important. Thanks.
Okay, that was J?
That was
J and K.
J and K, and so our last one is 11T.
Oh yeah, my question on this one is just, so this is for, talk to me about what we're using this software for and how it's being funded.
Yeah, so this is a 5-year term for Planet Bids. Works out to be roughly $30,000 a year the first year because there's some training involved. That's why it's a little bit more, and that's what brings the total cost to $162,000 over the 5-year term. Planet Bids is really the institutional leader for going out to bid on public work projects. There's 1 million contractors and vendors who are in this system. And so when we're going out for big projects like Burbank High Pool, this would be the system that's used to publish, disseminate, and receive bids. And so when someone's submitting a bid, making sure they have all the proper documentation, making sure they're including their insurance documents, making sure if it has to be a bonded project, that they get those sorts of things all completed. What's really also valuable with this is because there's so many vendors and contractors in here, you can go out for quick bids as well. And so, recently we had a case where we were replacing 2 ice makers at the Burroughs Stadium snack bar. We could identify the specs of what we need, put it into this system, and say that we are going to accept bids for 36 hours. Give it back to us by end of day tomorrow, and we have now 1 million contractors and vendors. Obviously, only a very small subset provides that product, but that they're able to actually now bid competitively, and so we're able to make sure that we're really getting the best value on any product, whether it's a $1,200 ice maker or a $3 million pool project. So it's going to be primarily used for the bond, but it's not exclusively. It's really a procurement tool that we can use to efficiently purchase across the district.
And if it's going to be primarily used for the bond, are we paying for it with bond funds?
That's correct.
Thank you.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a great tool.
Okay, so we're going to go backwards, and we're going to say item 11E, 11.
Well, we can just say 11A through 11T, right?
No,
Does that work for you?
We can. Okay, 11A through 11T as amended. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. I didn't ask for a motion in a second.
I'll move it.
Ms. Ponser-Camper moves it. Dr. Agakanian seconds it. Motion carries 4-0. That was dynamic and confusing. We have one retirement. So I want to, and then, I skipped, we'll go back. I want to thank Karen Murphy. She worked as a paraeducator for the severely impaired. She started her service with us in 2004. So thank you for 2 decades of phenomenally important service. And before we end, we will go to 12A, reports from board members. Does anybody have anything to share?
Do you have anything, Char?
Nope. Ms. Ponser-Camper.
I just want to double click on the phone policy discussion. Sorry, my mother is coming next week and she really hates corporate jargon, so now I'm really just making sure that I use it all the time. Mr. Knoop was so kind to invite Dr. Macias and I to his staff meeting on Tuesday, where the staff was gathered together to talk through the cell phone policy that they are piloting in the spring. Burbank High sent over a number of classroom teachers who had taught different ages, like across the three of them, taught different ages, had very different classroom management styles, and really talked about, their kind of movement from not really seeing why it was necessary to seeing it be a huge game changer in their classrooms, and in terms of how much time was saved for teaching and learning. And so it was really good to hear it. I know I was really pleased to see that the borough's teachers were really keeping an open mind about it. And, they had lots of questions, but I think it was really good for them to hear from the Burbank High teachers. So I really appreciate them coming over and, talking to their colleagues about this. And I think it's going to make a big difference, even if it might be a little painful at the beginning. So thank you.
I wanted to say two quick things. I wanted to thank everybody who helped put together the beautiful memorial for Karen Lombardo. Dr. Macias, Dr. Knappich, Dr. Paramo, Ms. Harris, and I were there. It was lovely and celebratory, and I imagine an enormous amount of work went into it, so thank you to everybody. And also just want to wish our community a very happy, safe, and joyful Thanksgiving. So we will adjourn tonight at some time o'clock, 8:34 p.m.